Aloha everyone, welcome to another RuneScape news coverage video. For this video, we're going to talk about a live stream earlier this week involving the Combat Council and what they've worked on in the past year, what they plan on working on in the future. So without any further ado, let's go right into the video. Let's go!
Jagex is the illest. What you talking about, Willis?
Alright guys, quick apology, I've been busy this week, so I haven't been able to come out this video sooner, but now that we're here, let's talk about combats. So Mod Huli brought on Mods Pi, Mod Orion, and Mod Ramen onto the panel this week on Wednesday to talk about all things combat. For this video, we're going to talk about some of the more interesting tidbits that involve potential future updates. So there's a lot to cover. Let's just get started. To begin, I want to talk about things that reflect what we've seen in the past year. So starting off, tier 92 armors. A lot of people have a problem with the tier 92 helmets because it is degrade to dust and it'll just disappear on you, which is a big problem. Doesn't really happen with the body and legs because you have those augmented, and they said that as a whole, degrade to dust is something that the Combat Council really does not like and they want to fix it. So there is potential that they're going to completely eliminate the degrade to dust system in the future. That all depends, they say, on where it falls in the priority. So if it ends up being a big priority and something that they're going to work on as soon as possible, if not, it might be further down the line. But at some point, they do want to tackle degrade to dust. They don't like its current state. Next up, we got the Essence of Finality. Not much has said about this. They are pretty happy with it. It has brought in life to a lot of old content, mainly old spec weapons, and really gives that old school feel back, especially since special attacks were very prominent for a large portion of RuneScape's life cycle. However, they do say that they may look back and improve some old special attacks, some of the underperforming ones. That's not a guarantee, but it's worth noting. Next up, looking at Raksha, they are currently very aware of the imbalances when it comes to the Codex, how powerful Ricochet is compared to the other two, Chain and Divert, and have actively been talking about it as we speak. Nothing has been set in stone in terms of what they want to do and how they want to accomplish it, if they're going to nerf Ricochet or if they're going to buff Chain and Divert or whatever the case may be. They are not sure yet on what approach they want to take. And that's pretty much it. Looking back at the 2020 updates, we're now going to look at what is to come in the future. In terms of the combat triangle, they say that they are 2/3 happy with it, which makes sense. Range and melee have their own identity now and they feel unique from one another, which they are very happy with. They say Mage is definitely falling behind and needs to be looked at 100%. And whatever changes they plan on making to it, they are not considering 4-tick auto-attacking because it isn't what they want to be the identifier that makes Magic unique, which may or may not mean that they're going to eliminate 4-tick auto-attacking completely in the future. It's very possible. Do let me know what you guys think about that. Moving on, we got power creep. They have said that, and we all know this, in the past couple of years, more recently the past few years actually, power creep has been increasing pretty exponentially. Not only that, we don't have any powerful challenges to test our new strong capabilities. And that is something that going forward they do want to address. They do want to put out PVM content that will test our new combat prowess. So look forward to that. In addition to this, they do want to reinforce, rebalance, and fix things that are already existing, and do major quality of life fixes overall for combat, as opposed to introducing new things that would be attributed to power creep. The next thing they talked about is the servers. This is probably one of the biggest challenges they said they have in terms of releasing combat content, and it is something that they are actively working on. However, they are the Combat Council, so keep that in mind. There is only so much they can do on the server side, but when new content comes out or when they fix old content, they are very mindful of it and they're trying their best to streamline the code to put the least stress on the servers possible, but it's not entirely a job left up to the Combat Council. Next up, we have death costs. They said that they've seen and have collected a lot of good data in regards to the recent combat week that has made death costs completely free, so it is definitely going to help them with their decision as to what they want to do with the death costs. ModPie has said that despite death costs being as high as they are, PVMers by and large and on average always make back their deaths regardless of how expensive it is. Having said that, they do recognize that is not enough and they do want to do something about it, and it doesn't consider things like when you're learning a boss and you die a lot in the very beginning and potentially find yourself in a big hole because you've had to pay death so much. So they definitely do want to lower the death costs. In what manner or with what system, they have not yet fully decided yet. So they're still discussing in what way, but they are definitely going to reduce the death costs in the future. So that is really good to hear. Next up, we have a look at elite dungeons. There's a lot of elite dungeons, a big list of changes in the works, and some of them have been completed, some of them not yet. One of them being they're combining all of the lucky charms into one lucky charm, so you don't have to have 3 different ones. Just bring the same one to all of them, no matter which one you're doing, which is a huge convenient update. Some of these changes they say are going to be really impactful, and some of them will change the system as a whole, which will allow them to do things like add all new elite dungeons in the future, following under their new system changes. So that'll be really interesting to look forward to. Next up, a quick touch on Vorago. They are looking at ways to shave off length within the fight. Think similar to Araxor Phase 3, where they really streamlined that path. That's the kind of things that they want to do with the Vorago. It's not entirely high up on the list, but definitely something in their sights, which is amazing. The time gatiness of that boss is the worst in my opinion, and any opportunity to mitigate that is only going to make the fight that much more enjoyable. Moving on, we got SwitchScape. The Combat Council's actually torn on this particular topic. Some feel like it's a good thing for the game, some feel like it's not. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they tackle SwitchScape in the future, what they plan on doing with it, but they do say, which is good for those who do not participate in SwitchScape, that they never design any bosses going forward or in the past with SwitchScape in mind. Meaning anything you're going to see from the Combat Council, presumably forever, will never require SwitchScape from the player, which is great if you're somebody who does not choose to use it. And finally, the last thing I want to touch on is that in the future, they do plan on making bosses more lore heavy. They've done it very recently. Raksha has a whole lot of lore associated with it, as well as the elite dungeon system, and it's absolutely something they want to continue to do going forward. In terms of older bosses, it's not something that they want to go back and inject lore where previously wasn't. For example, Calfight King is just a big bug. There doesn't need to be a lore reason why it exists. It's just a giant Calfight. But it doesn't mean that they don't want to add lore to previous bosses. It will just come in forms of new content, for example, like an Araxor quest, as opposed to adding lore to the Araxor fight itself. And yeah, guys, that pretty much wraps up all of the main information that came from this Combat Council livestream. Let me know what interests you the most about this video, and what are you looking forward to in the future in terms of combat in RuneScape. Love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm going to wrap up the video there. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed yet and you want to stay up to date on all things RuneScape related, then hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. I am out. Aloha.